Approval of Splost joint resolution, intergovernmental agreement.
Yes, sir. Item 13 seeks the board's approval of an eSPLOST joint resolution and intergovernmental agreement to continue our eSPLOST. As a reminder, Georgia law provides individual counties and independent school districts within the county the opportunity to generate capital improvement funds by means of special purpose local option sales tax. The DeKalb County School District, City of Decatur Schools, and Atlanta Public Schools are connected geographically and must all approve a combined referendum to be presented to the voters in order to impose the eSPLOST. A joint resolution has been developed calling for a referendum on the ballot in May of 2016 to continue the 1% sales and use tax within the DeKalb County for educational purposes, as discussed during our Committee of the Whole on January 26. The referendum will outline categories of improvements for DeKalb County School District and the estimated revenue for the continued 5-year collection of a 1% sales tax up to a maximum of $600 million if approved by the voters in May of 16. The capital improvements will be funded by the eSPLOST commencing on July 1, 2017, if approved by the voters in May of 2016 special election. The focus of the categories directly address our commitment to learning environments that are healthy and safe for our students and our faculty. Based upon our revenue forecast data, the district staff has recommended $500 million in eSPLOST revenue allocations in support of the following main project categories: safety and security improvements at $15 million, construction of new replacement schools, facilities, and building additions, $230 million, capital improvements of facilities, $100 million, technology improvements to include an ERP system upgrade, $65 million, replacement of capital equipment, transportation, and surplus vehicles, or support vehicles rather, $40 million, and the approval of the issuance up to $200 million in general obligation debt for the purpose of funding a portion of the projects with payments to be made from the eSPLOST. DeKalb County Board of Registrations and Elections is the election superintendent of the DeKalb County, Georgia, and will hold the special election if authorized by the Boards of Education. Thusly, an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of the election services has been prepared for your review and approval. DeKalb County School District must pay its pro rata costs for the election, which is based on our FTE. However, as noted in the IGA, the costs are projected to be negligible. With this, it is requested that the Board of Education approve a joint resolution with the City of Decatur Schools and the Atlanta Public Schools calling for a May 16 referendum to authorize the reimposition of the SPLOST for an additional 5 years. And B, approve the IGA for the provision of election services by the DeKalb County Board of Registrations and Elections. This action will allow the DeKalb County School District to participate in the eSPLOST referendum scheduled to be presented to the voters for approval this upcoming May of 2016. Mr. Chairman, subject to any questions you or the board may have, I recommend that this item also be placed on tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
I was just going to say for the Friday communique, get a breakdown of the anticipated costs of the election. It was that 10 grand. If it just goes to the right, that was it. Thanks.
Yes, sir. We can provide that.
Is no further? Oh, Mr. Jester.
Mr. Williams, in the future, can we break out management? Because management and contingency are kind of completely different. I figure for the referendum and sake of ease, that's why we kind of put them together. But in the future, kind of break those out so we have a decent idea of what management really is.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
All right. And we had discussed, I guess last time we met, that the percent capacity would be a priority driver, especially as that pertains to Cross Keys, and that would more than likely drive those projects to the top. And I wanted to ask you if a number of other areas would kind of get swept up into those priorities. And it seems like if that's the case, then $230 million on new facilities and additions would get eaten up pretty quickly. So the question being, if percent capacity or the percent over capacity is a major driver, then a number of other schools outside of the Cross Keys will get swept up. Do you anticipate that happening, that we'll need to address that?
During our presentation in the Committee of the Whole, we provided what we called a proposed strategy or list of criteria that we would use to kind of develop what that list will look like, specifically as it relates to new facilities and additions. One component of that, of course, was a school capacity cut point. So, for example, if that capacity is 140% and we determine that the capacity percentage is 120, then certainly that would be, based on that prioritization, one particular category of criteria that we would consider. The other was the facility cut points, and the facility cut points are more so related to the actual condition, and specifically if the deficiencies or the facility condition or the facility educational adequacy assessment support that a new addition or a tear-down replacement is more advantageous and it's not necessarily capacity driven. That's another major component that will dictate what that looks like. And then, of course, the board and the superintendent's decision relative to new programming efforts throughout the district will be part of that. As it currently stands right now, what I would say is that the middle school and high school feasibility study will really give a lot of data for us to make a determination as it relates to what those cut points specifically related to capacity will look like across the entire district. So at this time, I'm not able to say whether or not Cross Keys or some other location will take the large majority, but I will say is that there is a very strong priority that the superintendent has given, specifically as it relates to the overcrowding challenges that are related to the Cross Keys cluster.
All right. And let me just add to that, I think, because if I think your question, it's not restricted just to the Cross Keys area. That is where the epicenter of our overcrowding is. However, I think the flexibility is deliberately written into this so they can go wherever the growth is, wherever the feasibility study drives us into any other area where overcrowding takes place as well. So we're not just locked into that. And so we have some flexibility deliberately built in for that very purpose.
Right, and that was my question. And ultimately, it seems like there's just a lot of questions out there because we're not too sure what the weight of these drivers are. We're not positive if Henderson Middle School, at 140% capacity, if that's going to be addressed, how much Cross Keys will be addressed. I mean, we're asking over $500 million, potentially $600 million from the taxpayers, and in recent Splosts, we haven't done things this way. We've created the project list, and we have a plan to create that project list, but currently it's after our referendum, and it is possible to start Splost 5 next July, have this project list, and then vote on the referendum come next May. So this isn't really an emergency that it has to get done this May. And with the lack of just not knowing exactly what's going to happen, this being $600 million, $500 million, this generally isn't how we do things. And also, that was just a statement. And I do have one question. Are we going to get briefed on what the school district and employees are allowed to say, what's permissible behavior-wise regarding the Splost referendum?
Yeah, we're working with a firm that will provide a set of talking points for board members as well as for staff members and where the boundaries are with regard to providing information as opposed to promoting or advocating in the campaign where we, as staff members, are not allowed to do that. So
good. If we could
clear direction
get that sooner, that'd be
not
great.
to do that. Right.
Great, that'd be great. Thanks, Dr. Green.
Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. I have received a lot of emails and communication from constituents asking for clarity. So I don't know if this is jumping the gun a little bit, but Chair, I would say that I would request this to be an action item tonight instead of a consent. I don't know if I
Okay,
jumped.
automatically, if you're going to vote, so you would
Thank you.
automatically have it as an
Thank
action item. Dr. Marley,
Yeah,
we'll finish the discussion.
Yeah, I'm not going to belabor this, but most certainly we discussed it in looking at the timeliness of going with all the other districts as opposed to next year. And I think sometimes when you're sort of isolated out on your own, you're taking a great chance. So I think that it behooves us to go ahead and, as you were asking the question, would we have the information? That was understanding, Dr. Green, I know when we met, that there would be information. The public, everything would be explained to the public. We would also have the information that we needed so that we can seem competently involved in what's going on and be able to secure a base and a basis for the reason why we're going at this particular time. But in looking at the research and everything that we've done, it seems that going in as this group would make it a lot more plausible than just coming up on our own arbitrarily at another particular date. And I would not want to see us wait another year in order to be able to do this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any opposition to placing this on the consent agenda for this evening? We have one. So therefore, we will make it an action item tonight.